One of the biggest things retirement has taught me is that people aren't paying nearly as much attention to me as I thought they were. That may sound like a strange place to start, but hear me out. When I was younger, I probably spent more time worrying about what other people thought than I should have. I wondered if I was making the right decisions, if people approved of what I was doing, or whether I was somehow falling behind everyone else. Looking back, I don't think I was unusual. I think most of us do that to one degree or another. But retirement has a funny way of changing your perspective. After a while, you begin to realize that everyone else is busy living their own lives. They're trying to pay their bills, raise their families, deal with their own health issues, and figure out their own future. They're not really spending much time thinking about whether you downsized your house, leased a car, or decided to spend your retirement differently than they would. Once that finally sank in, it was actually pretty liberating. I stopped feeling like I needed to justify every decision I made because I realized I was the one thinking about those decisions far more than anybody else was. The more I thought about that, the more I realized it wasn't the only thing retirement had quietly taught me. There were several other observations that seemed to become obvious only after I'd been retired for a while. Another thing I noticed was that somewhere along the way, I simply stopped caring so much about what other people thought. I don't mean that I've become rude or inconsiderate. That's not it at all. I just don't feel the same pressure to impress people that I probably felt when I was younger. When you're working, it's easy to get caught up in the comparing yourself to everyone else. Someone buys a bigger house, someone gets a nicer car, someone gets promoted, and before long, you find yourself wondering if you're somehow falling behind. I think most of us have done that without even realizing it. Retirement changes that. At least it did for me. I started asking myself a different question. Instead of wondering what other people thought about my decisions, I started asking whether my decisions actually made me happy. That may sound simple, but it's a completely different way of looking at life. If I enjoy taking a walk instead of playing golf, that's okay. If I decide to lease a car and someone else thinks buying is always better, that's okay too. If I want to spend time building this YouTube channel instead of sitting around watching television all day, that's my choice. One of the nicest parts of retirement is realizing you finally have the freedom to build a life that fits you instead of trying to build one that impresses somebody else. That leads me to something else I've noticed. For years, we're told that retirement is all about reaching some magic number. Depending on who you listen to, that number might be $1 million, $2 million, or even more. Now, don't get me wrong, money matters. I'm certainly not suggesting it doesn't. The more financial security you have, the more choices you'll probably have. But I think we've become so focused on chasing a number that we've forgotten what the number is supposed to accomplish. I've met retirees who don't have anywhere close to $1 million and seem perfectly content because they live well within their means. I've also seen people with far more money who still worry constantly because their lifestyle keeps expanding to match whatever they have. Retirement isn't really about reaching someone else's number. It's about building a retirement that your own income can comfortably support. For me, retirement has never been about trying to impress anyone with what I own. It's been about creating a life that I enjoy living without constantly worrying about money. Another lesson took me a while to accept, and it has to do with family. When we retire, I think many of us picture spending a lot more time with our kids and grandkids. Sometimes that happens, and it's wonderful when it does. But eventually you realize something. Your children have their own lives now. They have their careers, responsibilities, kids of their own, doctor's appointments, soccer games, vacations, and all the things that kept us busy when we were their age. It's not that they don't love us, it's that life is busy. I think retirement becomes much happier when we stop expecting our children to provide our purpose. They're supposed to be building their own lives, just like we did. That doesn't mean we stop enjoying our time together. It just means we appreciate the time we have instead of measuring it against unrealistic expectations. Here is another one that probably won't surprise anyone who's been retired very long. Your body starts having a vote. When I was younger, if something hurt, it usually felt better the next day. These days, I wake up with an ache or a pain, and sometimes I can't even remember what I did to deserve it. Lately, I've been dealing with a sore heel, and it's been a good reminder that getting older doesn't mean giving up, but it does mean paying attention. Instead of pushing through it, I've adjusted my walks, listened to what my body was telling me, and let it recover. I think that's one of the biggest adjustments in retirement. We still need to stay active, but we also have to be smart enough to realize we're not 25 anymore, which brings me to probably the biggest mistake I think retirees can make: sitting still. It's easy to picture retirement as finally having permission to relax. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with relaxing. But I don't think retirement was ever meant to be lived from a recliner. Our bodies need movement. Our minds need challenges, whether that's walking, volunteering, traveling, gardening, learning something new, or even starting a YouTube channel after retirement like I did. I think we all need something that just gets us out of bed in the morning. Purpose doesn't disappear when your career ends. It just changes. And finally, this may be the biggest lesson retirement has taught me. Retirement isn't something you're waiting to begin. This is it. It's easy to tell ourselves we'll take the trip next year, start walking next month, reconnect with old friends someday, or finally try that hobby once everything settles down. The problem is retirement has a way of reminding us that time keeps moving whether we use it or not. None of us knows how many healthy years we have left. That's not meant to be depressing. If anything, I find it motivating. It reminds me to appreciate the ordinary days, to stay active, to keep trying new things, and not to postpone living while I'm waiting for the perfect time. Looking back, these are just a few of the things retirement has taught me. My guess is many of you have learned some of the same lessons, and maybe you've learned a few that I haven't. So I'd love to hear from you. What has retirement taught you that nobody could have explained beforehand? Let me know in the comments. I read every one of them, and there's a good chance your experience will help someone else who's just beginning this journey. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.